Well, with all the talk about education these days, we figure we get our education guy on here, my good friend. We don't agree on everything, but we respect each other. We disagree without being disagreeable. Imagine that. My good friend Justin Oakley, former blog Don't Let Me Teach, former blog Just Let Me Teach, and a longtime teacher in education ethics. So, Justin, my friend, how's it been going lately?
It's been going all right, buddy. It's just like the old Crossfire with even more intelligent and better looking guest on it.
Exactly. I always said I was much better looking than Pat Buchanan anyway. So there we
Yeah.
go. So my question is, how is education from the teacher perspective in Indiana these days?
Oh man, you need a Ken Burns type segment for that, my friend. Well, fire off some questions. There's so much going on. I'll just say I am. It's amazing that people still choose the profession and are in it and can go to work every day and just try to teach. Remember, I started something called Just Let Me Teach about 14 years ago, and I still think that mantra holds true. Indiana's just seems to be going all in on the full throttle on taking money away from public schools and spreading it out to other schools, and I think that's going to come home to roost this bargaining session.
Well, let's go ahead and start with the latest bit of news surrounding teachers in Indiana. We had the Charlie Kirk assassination, and no sane person would ever want anybody shot or killed or assassinated. But some folks have written some things online that have gotten some folks in trouble. So your thoughts on just sort of that controversy right now?
Well, I've always been an advocate of teachers, but I do say every year I go and speak around the state to new teacher events, and I always say we can't defend stupid. So I think that sums up everything in your question on that. I think that what we've got is a governor, a lieutenant governor, and an attorney general who have gone off the rails on, within a day they were attacking teachers and saying, they're not allowed to say anything, and they actually aren't protected by free speech. And our attorney general sent like a 14-page manifesto to all the schools and colleges yesterday outlining case law where a teacher has no freedom of speech, where we actually do have case law where they do. If you were someone when that happened that you went out on your prep period or lunch or immediately had to post something derogatory or awful, I don't know what to tell people like that. But we need to be real careful when we say, you don't have the right to say something, because that can actually come back and be the opposite. So we have to be careful on that. I think this country's lost its way on a lot of things.
Now, I do know that the governor, I think either the governor or attorney general said a teacher can lose their license if they're advocating violence or something along those lines. What exactly are those rules?
Yeah, that's again. I mean, I don't know. The AG sent. It's a huge thing citing case law about what constitutes that. I think that would be more interesting to have a debate about that with higher ed, because if you're a tenured professor, I think you have a little more protection. But, where does this go? I know some social studies teachers that have just completely stopped teaching or talking about current events because of things like this. I know great history teachers who've retired because of things like this. I know a teacher who resigned and was kind of forced out talking about January 6th, said it was an act of domestic terrorism. Well, what is it? Who draws the line on that? Who says what's what? It's like the whole deal with the Supreme Court and adult stuff. It's like who says what's what? We have to be very careful. What's right is right. We should know these things, what's common sense, and maybe it's time people just got off social media. That's another thing I've been telling people. Maybe it's time just to get off social media. If you can't behave, then maybe your device should be taken away.
What has been the talk amongst teachers in Indiana? From like I said, you travel around, talk lots of teachers as a union as a union person. What are you hearing from teachers about sort of the change and restriction of what they can or can't talk about in the classroom?
I don't think that's a big issue. Most teachers are there to teach. I mean, if you're talking about Charlie Kirk in your math and PE classes, that's one thing. But again, I come back from a social studies view, history. What are you allowed to talk about? What is the curriculum? We have this lunatic fringe for the last 5 years about, I don't want this book taught. Well, what's bad about it? Have you read it? No, I've never read it. I don't have a problem with you having a problem with things like that. It's when you tell everybody else they can't do those things. And it just depends on whatever side you're on right now. That's who's dictating things. And we need to be real careful with that. And the biggest talk for teachers right now is there's no money, Abdul, in our schools with the property tax breaks, caps, billions of dollars going to choice schools, vouchers, and online schools and private schools and all this other stuff. Schools are really I think every school in the state unless you have some kind of record enrollment year, is going to feel some effect of the last 15 years of budget cuts to schools. That's the number one issue I think more folks are dealing with this year and going into bargaining.
Our guest on the program today is our good friend Justin Oakley. Justin, longtime advocate for traditional public schools. We and I don't agree on everything, but we respect each other, and the only shots we take at each other are occasionally over cigars down in Martinsville, where he lives, when I go down and pay him a visit on occasion. Justin, when we look at the teaching profession, what do you think the legislature has maybe sort of gone a little bit overboard with teaching, particularly the in-class curriculum?
Well, I forgot something. Another big issue this year is TAG grants, teacher appreciation grants. Is just like some money they'd carved out to throw at teachers, and I guess the House Ed Speaker thought too many teachers were getting those bonuses. So now only like 20% of your staff can get it. It's like look it up. I'll send it after the show. It's like a 12-page outline thing. Less than 20% of your staff can have it. There's a whole bunch of people who are disqualified immediately from it. Some people can get a $7,500 bonus. Some people can get a $500 bonus. It creates morale issues. It's unfair. It's just one thing after another. That's a big issue. Money is a big issue. After so many years, I think people have said, hey, look, I've been in this 20 years. I'm making the same amount of money. I could go seriously be like assistant manager at Aldi's and make more money than I teach in math. Everyone should be concerned about that.
Justin, in addition, what is it hard to recruit young teachers in this profession
Yes.
these days?
Yes, all caps. Yes. What have I seen in the last 25 years doing this? When I first tried to get a teaching job in 2000, there were no social studies jobs. It was probably 2-year wait just to do that, and I would have had to have coached and probably chaperoned every dance and taken on every club. When I left the field, only one person applied for my job. So now we have so much, what do you call that? People come in, they find out, oh my God, I don't like this. We have a lot of uncertified staff. That's another big deal in Indiana. How many non-certified teachers we have. It would be interesting to see how many school corporations have emergency permit staff. We're just grabbing people off the street and saying, hey, you got a pulse and a bachelor's, you can teach. So, and sometimes not even that. So that's an issue, big issue.
It's funny you bring up the teaching thing, because my thing has always been like this. I totally understand the need for younger kids, that I said that sort of that K through 3, maybe K through 8. But if someone like me, who has practiced law, lived in politics and government and journalism, why would I need a teaching certificate? I mean, I got a good personality and I can communicate with kids. I've been doing this for 20-something odd years.
Well, unless you were really hard up for a job or money, I'm just joking. But you can now. I think you can live on the emergency permit. I don't think I think you have to say that you're working on towards it. But why would you? Let's talk about what you just said. Why would you come in? You've got all these degrees. You've taught, but you don't have the certification. Well, now you got to go work towards that. Why would you do that? Why would you go towards a master's or spend 80 hours on a literacy document when you've already taught for 20 years? Why would you do all that to make like a $500 stipend? Nobody in their right mind would do this, and that's what they've done, and they're not in our classrooms. They definitely aren't talking to our leaders, and most of our leaders are Republicans. Most of our superintendents and school boards and all that, maybe minus like 4 places on earth, so I know they're not talking to them. And maybe it's just time those folks, maybe the folks at the top, need to start being way more vocal about what's going on in their schools. And I think this year it's coming home. I've serviced 14 locals, and I'd say 100% of them don't have money. So, and they've got rid of programs, they've cut programs, they've cut staff, they've offered buyouts, but they still don't have money. So something's wrong.
Our guest on the program today is our good friend Justin Oakley, public education advocate, good friend, known him for years and years and years. Also ran for superintendent of public instruction for a little while, back a long, long time ago, was still an elected position. So Justin, how do you think the Department of Education is doing these days, with Katie Jenner sort of at the helm?
I don't know. I've kind of tuned out. I'm in my Brian Wilson, Axl Rose phase. Those guys kind of disappeared for a decade. I've been just focusing on my own mental health and fitness, and just still doing my job. And like you, the world's kind of lost its mind. We've had some things happen to us in our lives where people just don't agree with you, so they say things. And so I just kind of laid low. I think for what they want her to do, she's doing fine. I'm not sure that all of a sudden I don't even know if she got it. I think they were going to try to make her in charge of all the schools, K-12 through college, and that would pay more than the governor. I don't know what they're thinking, but you're right, used to be an elected position, and they took it off the ballot. I'm wondering if they're going to do that with the AG down the road. But anyway, yeah, I did. I was crazy. I ran, and we won. Wasn't me, but we won. So I think that this year is going to be a turning point for some kind of collective. What are we doing in education? Maybe in Indiana, or I could be wrong.
Let's talk about that because obviously Katie Jenner was head of education for K through 12. But now when we look at it too, throw it in also higher education. Doesn't it make sense to have a senior secretary of education, then maybe a deputy for K through 12, and then another deputy for higher ed?
Probably. I'm sure the colleges, it's not the same. If you think, second grade and master's program at IU is the same, we're on different worlds. But probably, yeah, I would say so. I think they're trying to centralize and consolidate and just have, they do pretty much what they want. When you said Iran, back in the day, if you went to those education hearings, there'd be hundreds and hundreds of people. There'd be all kinds of media. I went recently, and there was no one in there, just the ed committee, and they can pretty much do whatever they want. It's hard to stop anything from coming out of those committees now because they have all the power.
Are the concerns from urban school districts, say like an IPS or Fort Wayne or Evansville, basically the same as in rural and suburban school districts as far as teachers go?
I don't think so. I think that most teachers just go into the profession that they want to teach. I still think it's a calling. I think people are looking other ways. Like my daughter will be 16. She's not going to teach. She's been around two educators her whole life. You think she's going to teach? It's sad. She wanted to, but she's not going to do that. No, you bring up another big interesting point. With all this stuff we've done over the last 20 years to educate kids, I used to say on the old campaign trail, give me the 10 best teachers in the state that have won all these accolades and awards and all this stuff, and we'll take them and put them in some of the quote unquote worst schools. Give me some of the lower teachers, and we'll put them in some of the best schools and see what those scores are. And they'd probably be about the same. So I think you're dealing with a different logic or philosophy of schools. We shouldn't just throw money at schools. It's the biggest thing in the budget. I know our legislators love to point that out, but they took that all on and rewrote all the laws. I think, they're exhausting, Abdul. You know this. You cover the legislature. Hell, 75%. What are they? Every year, it's education, education, education. Seems like that runs the show. And Indiana's in just a strange place. We wanted to be the Harvard of the Midwest. Now you just get a high school diploma with a stamp on it, and you can go into building trades your sophomore year. So they went from one extreme to the other.
Speaking of that whole topic, I want to shift gears a little bit. And Justin Oakley, our favorite public education advocate on the program today, I want to get your thought on the whole data center concept. Not so much whether data centers are good or bad, but the impact that these data centers are having on local education. Some folks say, hey, the property tax abatements, that's money taken away from schools. Other folks say, no, but here you got the opportunity for kids, who are encoding, and so the coding is sort of the new trade school. Any thoughts on how the data centers can impact education in Indiana?
You've caught me on a topic I don't know much about, my friend, so I'm afraid to even speak. I do know I'm following some of that. That's I know where I saw where a community actually got it off the agenda, and they're going to back out now. But we've had some of that here. Some of our more popular legislators have had some little town halls, and they've almost been run out of the building. So I think it's an interesting thing. It's another thing like this spooky thing come to your town. It's some rural places. You're going to have this like Twilight Zone thing buzzing. I don't know. I would like to do whatever we can to start getting more people. I just think I believe this after 25 years of doing this. Our society isn't educated on education. It thinks it knows a lot about schools because it went to school, but schools have changed, man. Since last time I was in the classroom was 2013. It's a totally different universe now. Totally different world since I was teaching. Things have changed that much.
Justin Oakley with us for a few more minutes on the program today. Justin, any other big issues out there facing teachers and public education in Indiana?
Oh, there's so many, Abdul. I really do think that I want to say this while I have time on your program to our Attorney General. I think anybody needs to be careful what they say and what they put out on social media. What happens when you say things like, what happens if someone says things like teachers are terrorists? What happens if someone says things like, I know where you live, and what happens if one of our teachers are killed? We had some students go on a field trip the other day, and I saw where they weren't allowed to bring their cell phones into the museum or whatever. And one of the kids said, "Oh my God, what if I get shot? I can't call my mom." A 13-year-old shouldn't be thinking stuff like that. We live in a crazy world. It's violent. We don't need our legislators and our most powerful people at the top tweeting and saying these awful things so that we can't say things back. It's ridiculous, and I think we all need to tone it down a little bit. I feel like you and I have done that quite a bit. We're a good example of that, trying to talk about issues. We don't have to shout and scream and demean each other to do those things.
It used to be, when I was in elementary school, it used to be this thing called good citizenship.
Yeah.
It's what it was called, and you got an A or B or C or whatever in the good citizenship part of the program. Do we need to go back to teaching civics education again, and not so much, hey, here's how the government works, but here's how we can disagree without being disagreeable?
I think so. I think there's been a push for that. There's some states that have actually adopted that in their curriculum. That we're going to, but do we teach kids to be good people? That should be at home or in church or in the society, but maybe now that's the school's role. I don't know. We got to do something, brother. I got 3s, by the way. With refrains from disturbing others, I always got in trouble for that one.
Well, actually, I got an A in penmanship, but I got a C in religion. Go figure.
Oh, yeah. I used to get straight A's, but I got 3s in refrains from disturbing others and talks in class. So I always got in trouble for that. So,
my friend, as the school year gets underway, we've been in school for about a month and some change, 2 months in some places. What's going to be the big issues teachers are going to be looking at for the remainder of the school year, or at least for this semester, at least?
Well, I just put, with the bargaining, this is another thing. Teachers can bargain like 4 items. They've been pretty much stripped since 2011. There are really no collective bargaining left. I mean, you start pre-bargaining in September. You've got to be done by November. You're in default or whatever by December. And if you all don't come to a decision, you take the last best offer, and a school's going to win every time. That's really not bargaining. That's like pretend bargaining. But that's the biggest issue right now. I think all the schools, even the wealthy ones, are having trouble with money right now, and that should be a giant red blinking light. But do people want a $25 tax break, or do they want their schools to be good? Do they want to constantly have referendums to keep the lights on? It's just we've done so many things now that one group's been in power now and completely in control of every aspect of this since at least going on 15 years. So that's the group that the buck stops with them on some of these issues, definitely.
All right. Well, our guest on the program today has been our good friend, Justin Oakley, public education advocate, good friend. We don't agree on much, but we can disagree without being disagreeable. Imagine that. So, Justin, my friend, hey, thank you very much, buddy. Appreciate it. I'll be back down in Martinsville soon. We go grab that cigar.
Yeah, be safe, man. Thanks. Always a pleasure. See you.